What's up, guys? I'm Uncle Freedom, coming to you on a glorious and well-deserved singular day off in which I'm doing laundry, packing clothes, and getting ready to drive to another city to go attend a school for the first part of the week. I would also tell you, first things first, like, subscribe, share, tell a friend. That is how we push out more 2A content to the masses. I would also tell you to take a moment and check out my friends over at outlastsupply.com. They are monumental supporters of what I do here. They allow me to keep doing what I do with the freedom in which I do it, and it's kind of awesome. Everything from water filtration to shelf-stable foods to, I don't know, if you were to search for personal defense, I bet you'd find some things you were interested in. Let them know Uncle Freedom sent you. They're great people. You can also find a link that would run over there on my website, violentalgebra.com, under the affiliates section over there, violentalgebra.com, where I sell absolutely nothing YouTube because I'm an educational content channel and I don't profit monetarily from the sale of a firearm. Like, I just don't, right? Like, I don't sell things, right? I make stuff that helps people. That's kind of my goal. Now, I should also say I'm going to show firearms today, but I am in a safe area of my home. All firearms have been checked and safety cleared, and I work on firearms, maintenance them, dry fire down here, and there's Kevlar handles behind that camera. Therefore, you shall not be gotten by the internet today. Now, let's get to that rifle standard, shall we? We got a lot to cover today. If you were there for the pistol one, that was a pretty sporty video. It was a little bit long. So as a non-negotiable, when we start talking about the rifle standard, it has to be 100% fully vetted and a tested firearm, right? Like, you don't get to just buy one and be like, yep, I'm good to go. No, if your stuff is not vetted out and tested, you have no idea what the capabilities of that system are. And we need to understand our capabilities and limitations to set a standard. But that should also include that this needs to be a fully set up firearm. This does not just need to be a rifle and like over here you have another part and you're waiting on next Tuesday to get this other thing, right? Like, I get it. We got to do this stuff in stages. However, you're not at a fully set system until you have all those parts, right? Now, in addition to the parts that we would need for the rifle itself, we also need a pretty minimum amount of support gear that's going to enhance our capabilities and make us more efficient in the art of gun fu combining a rifle. Now, there are additional equipment that you can get much the same way we could for a handgun. Things like clip-on thermal devices, night vision, laser aiming modules. These are all things that we can do with a rifle, and actually more of them. But again, those are not part of the base system, and they should serve to augment or enhance our capabilities with our base rifle platform. So talking about the fighting rifle, dude, fighting rifles are super fun, right? Because we should all do the most American thing possible and take full advantage of having things like an entry gun and an SPR and a GPR and an MPR and an MPA and an SFST and we should have all that, right? Like, if you don't know what the last one was, I'm sorry. But you should have all of this, but you need one that is your standard, right? Standards exist as an unwavering barrier that we can point to and say, yeah, all right, I do what I do because that is my standard over there. And as I do things, I don't detract from my standard. I can only increase my standard, but I can never take away from it I can never add to other things at the expense of my standard. The standard is always there. Otherwise, it doesn't mean anything. So in short, the standard's the one you come home to, man. The standard is your ride or die, your most trusted dealer of death from above. It is your absolute favorite rifle. And we can all say we don't have a favorite burner on the stove, but we don't talk about it, but we do have a favorite burner on the stove. And yeah, we do contemplate not throwing away that box because, it's a good box. We have the same problem with the rifles, right? Today, if I told you, man, you got to go right now, grab one, you have one in the back of your brain right now that is your favorite, right? We're not supposed to pick favorites as parents, but let's all admit it, we do. You're going to go pick your favorite one. That is going to be your standard, right? There is one that you just simply trust more than the other ones. Now, fighting rifles come in a bunch of flavors, right? From the Com-Block 47s and 74s to some baby poop shorty shorts and an FAL. Now, FALs are kind of out, and I'm going to get more into that in a second. For me, though, it's got to be the venerable AR-15. A lot of that comes from my just abundance of confidence and comfort with that system because I have had that system professionally in my life for 23 years. Man, just realized how old I was. Anyway, it's that whole thing, like a 40-year-old truck in your head versus what a 40-year-old truck really is. Now, some of that is that comfort, but the other part is just how easy it is for me to enhance or to make that firearm fit what I want it to do. And what you choose is ultimately your decision, right? And it needs to be directly influenced kind of like by where you're at. However, I will tell you, if your overwhelming urge to scream, "Get off my lawn," and your M1 Garand can't be set up in a fashion that would make it a good comparable fighting rifle, it ain't the one, man. As much as I like the ping noise and the sound of bald eagles when it goes off, it is not the one. Your base rifle should be a semi-automatic, magazine-fed, adaptable rifle system chambered in an intermediate rifle cartridge. Now that's immediately going to make somebody mad because they're going to believe, but I can free my 6.5 Creedmoor gasser, my 308. Okay, so why an intermediate cartridge? With the fighting rifle, we are locked in a battle that all people that reload know, and that is the constant battle between recoil and effectiveness. I would love to rock out a baby pooped foul in 308 and just have a great time, but what I'm going to gain in energy, I am going to lose almost immediately in controllability, in my ability to make fast follow-ups, in my ability to self-spot, and the biggest elephant in the room is the overall weight of the ammunition I'm going to have to carry and the decreased round count because I went with a bigger bullet. Yeah, the 308 hits harder. But I can carry more, hit you more, much faster, and all that jazz, and probably with better hits with an intermediate cartridge. So what caliber is effectively right for you, right? Well, honestly, that is a choice that is completely based off of your environment and your predicted engagement zone, or your PEZ, right? We went over this before, your PEZ. Now, I have done a ton of videos over the last couple of years on YouTube talking about ballistics and terminal ballistics and different rifle rounds and stuff like that. But I kind of looked at this from a different scope when I did this one because I could wax and wane autistically, philosophically for the next 7 hours about ballistics. But let's just go with like 4 things we can talk about. So the first one would be 7.62 by 39, right? Like it is super plentiful, modern, like most 8Ks are that can be modernized to some extent now. But we are going to sacrifice our hits at distance with this one, but it is an excellent and solid choice for my eastern and southeastern woodland defenders out there because their focus is primarily going to be on shorter range shots because let's be honest, you've never seen a clearing beyond 100 yards and having to fight in some pretty dense undergrowth and cover. Now, what if you just, I can't do the commie guns, Freedom, I need something else, right? Well, maybe you're AR centric in that case, man. There's really no substitute for that short range kind of in cover stuff than the 300 Blackout. Woodland cover fighting and the 300 Blackout, we can do everything from like a 110, like solid copper offering from Barnes for like some super speedy stuff to launching 190 grain Sub-X or a 220 grain Sierra Match King, which is effectively launching a grown man's pinky sized projectile at something at the speed of whispering death, okay? 300 Blackout is a great option for this and that only, right? 300 Blackout doesn't fit into everybody's world, and I'm going to get to that in just a second. Now, what about my defenders that would find themselves living in possibly like the mountainous terrain, right? The Rocky Mountains, the Crazies, if you know where the really pretty ones are, because the Crazies are way prettier than the Rockies. I'm just saying, fight me. The Alaskan range, which is prettier than all of them. Due to the fact that we have a bunch of four-legged predators that can absolutely turn us into a part of the fertilizing system in the woods, a lot of people here are tempted to carry those bigger frame guns like 308s and stuff like that. But when there are things like the 6 ARC, which despite its shortcomings, more on that in the 6 ARC video that is coming up soon, but it's got some shortcomings. But even despite its shortcomings, it is really, really hard to argue with a low recoiling, self-spotting round that is incredibly flat and efficient that I can bang stuff at like 1,500 yards with. Add in the fact that it runs hyper efficient, like ballistically efficient bullets, and it is a match chamber cartridge designed from the word go, and a powder rate that actually gives us pretty consistent burn rates, even if we start running into shorter barrel stuff and not 20 inches. It's pretty effective on some big stuff walking around bipedal or, four-pedal predators out there, even at 800 and 1,000 yards. It's an excellent round for what it is. You are sacrificing some stuff. Again, more on that in the upcoming video. Now, for my current peoples, right? The peoples that live up in them high prairies, them rolling prairies where I can see your ass from like 9 miles away. which means I have plenty of time to hide and find a better position. But there's just enough like scrubs and canyons and stuff to keep it kind of sporty, right? 5.56 all day, every single day. And to a lesser extent, the AK-74 M545. And that is mainly because you do not have the variety and ammunition to tailor things to a specific need, right? 5.56, I can do anything in the world, man. I can throw like a 40 grain projectile at like Mach Jesus at things and then turn right around and throw an 85 grain projectile and dome you at 1,000 yards. It is a possibility with 5.56 that doesn't exist with other things. I mean, even we can take solid copper, 70 grain solid copper offerings and like put them through car doors and into bad dudes. Like, it is a thing, man. And like, it is a awesome thing. 5.56 is probably one of my favorite rounds of all time because it is so versatile. We can do so much with it. And a lot of that is because we have carried it as a nation for a long time, which means we've done a lot of R&D on this system. Now, let's get to the gun itself, right? Because that is the part everybody's excited about. For me, I typically would want something in a minimum of a 13.7 inch to an 18 inch barrel and a mid-length or rifle-length gas system, right? Now, why? Well, here's the thing. It allows me to get an absolute metric ton of performance out of the 5.56 cartridge because it is highly velocity dependent. While it is still short enough that those links to rock inside of buildings, you think I'm kidding. The Marines did it in Fallujah with 20-inch ARs or 20-inch, M16s. And it's lower recoiling and smoother cycling because of that mid-length or rifle-length gas system. It's quieter with a suppressor because I have a longer barrel. I have less expanding gas at the end of the muzzle. And I'm getting like this really happy middle ground ballistically for terminal performance, right? I am not going I'm not slowing down to the point where I'm worried about losing effectiveness at 200 yards. I have enough velocity that I am getting somewhere with it. That is one of the reasons that 20-inch to like 16-inch drop is really not that bad on ballistic stuff. It is just a great area for the AR platform itself. Now, in short, in my testing that I have done, and I've done a lot of it, again, ballistics nerd, the most consistent middle ground I have ever found for an AR-15 barrel system is a mid-length gas system attached to a 16-inch barrel. It is just awesome. You could go 14.5. Just make sure you really like your muzzle device and the suppressor that it goes to. Otherwise, do 16. It's about the best middle ground I've ever seen on a rifle. It's weird. It's just ultra effective. So if we start talking about rifles, right, we're going to use this guy as my example today. So you can see there, we clear. You can see all kinds of stuff through here, right? So we clear. I'll go ahead and run that bolt forward, put her on safe. Now, unlike a pistol, I do not believe that iron sights are as much of a big deal on a rifle. And the reason being is if we have drawn a pistol, things are going much worse than we anticipated. And if we had a rifle in our hands, we probably had a pistol too. And taking off my optic to get to my backup iron sights will never be as fast as drawing my secondary at that moment because I have a primary and putting a round into something. And if they're so far away that it is ineffective for me to go at them with a handgun, I probably have enough time to get away or hide or do something else, right? I'm not against them. I'm just saying I don't, like, for me, they're not like totally required. And a lot of that is just how proven that rifle optics are. And somebody's going to be like, yeah, but pistol dots are proven too, and they break sometimes. And you said this, right? Here's the thing. This optic system is subjected to a whole crap ton less recoil than a reciprocating slide on a handgun, man. There's a lot of G-forces enacting on that little slide riding dot. Not the same stuff on here, man. So these are going to hold up a lot better, right? Now, your optic absolutely has to mirror that predicted engagement zone, right? Like y'all need to listen to this, man, because I see this one all the time and it drives me nuts, right? If you don't have a 200-yard line of sight where you live in any direction that you go, you do not need a 3 to 15. I know it looks cool, and I know you're all about that SPR life, but that is not a ride or die rifle, man. That is an SPR. An SPR is purpose designed for a specific set of rules and circumstances. of which you're missing like the distance part of it, right? Like, if you ain't got no distance where you live, you don't need like a 3 to 15 or a 2.5 to 10 or anything like that, right? You can lie to me and tell me, yeah, but it's for my pid, right? Binoculars actually work better for pidding because trust me, binoculars work better for stuff. And if you need like a more, get a spotting scope. So we don't really need it for PID. Spotting scopes and binos are always going to be superior to that, and they should be a part of your system in your ancillary equipment, your auxiliary equipment. We aren't doing this so that we can be cool, right? We are selecting our optic for that ride or die, right? For most people, a 1 to 6 or 8 powered LPVO with a piggyback dot is a good option, right? Or even better, an EOTech and a magnifier. This is a fantastic option, right? Or you could do a dot and a magnifier, whatever you wanted to do, right? Here's the thing though, right? Like, this is a balance. And what we're doing is we are trying to strike the best balance we can of seeing and actually shooting stuff, right? Like that is our whole goal. But my LPVO, I got a bunch of LPVOs. You know what they're all set on? Whatever the max magnification is. You know what they all have attached to them? An offset red dot. You know what happens if I got to shoot something really close? I use the dot. I never use the middle part of my magnification at all on an LPVO. There's no point. That said, things like a red dot or an EOTech and a magnifier are really effective because I have really good close engagement stuff and I can just that far away from actually getting better sight alignment and stuff and then popping a hole into things. So basically what I'm doing is I have effectively cut out the middleman of having to switch things. I can just do my thing, right? This is the EOTech EXPS 3-2. It has 2 dots. That's going to be important in just a second, right? So that is going to be my option, right? Like, you need something, need a little magnification on there, some ability for magnification, right? Like, if you just want to run a red dot and carry binos, you do you, man, right? Next one, Sling. This is non-negotiable, right? Like, if you have to have a handgun holster because that thing holds your handgun, this is non-negotiable. This holds your rifle. This is effectively the holster for said rifle, right? We need slings. Now, for a sling, the top of the heap for me, like my favorite ones, are the Viking Tactics, like the VTAC padded sling, the Flatline Fiberco, which this is padded sling, and Free State Outfitters, my boy over in Omaha. He made me a couple of slings. Those are definitely in my top 3. I really like his slings. Now, they should have some functions though. They should be QD-able. They should be one-handed adjusting, and for the love of all things holy, they should be a 2-point sling. Not a 3-point, not a 1-point. They need to be a 2-point sling that's quick adjust with QDs. Just take my word for it. Don't argue. Put the single-point sling down. So after we look at slings, like we know we need that. The next thing we have to have, and it is absolutely mandatory, so we have sighting systems. We have the ability to magnify and look at things. We have a good base rifle. We have the ability to retain said rifle. Now we need the ability to see in the freaking dark. Because again, I can create situations in your own home at noon where you can't see. It's a fact. White light is important. You cannot shoot what you cannot see. Now we are going to differ a little bit when we talk about white light on a rifle. Because white light on a rifle, we are shooting things farther. We can all agree rifles go further than handguns, right? It is a minimum of 50,000 candela. Minimum, absolute bottom floor of what is acceptable in a rifle light, right? It was not 5 years ago that we were all up in arms about the 1500 lumen Surefire Scout light that basically had like 9,000 candela, and that was great, right? But we had better things. We had the OKW, right? With the OKW, 680 lumens, 69,000 candela. We were really pushing light a long way. But we absolutely need at least that 50,000 candela, right? Now, something else I want my light to have on here is I want it to run on rechargeable 18650 batteries. Now, somebody's gonna be, why not 18350? Because 18350 is basically half the runtime. We are talking about a ride or die rifle, and I personally want double the frickin' runtime out of my light when I'm turning it on. So I want an 18650. They're relatively inexpensive. Chargers are easy to come by from Nightcore. You can charge up batteries and have 3 spares for this guy, and it's as easy as unscrewing the head of this, dropping a new one in, and going back to town. Now, our lights do need a couple of other things, right? This is the Noxon 18650 rifle light with the T1 head, so this is the OKW head, so that 608 lumens, 69,000 candela. Another thing I want is I want a dual activation capable system. That means I want a pressure pad and I also want a tail cap activation for my light. I want to be able to activate this more than one way. Should my pressure pad fail, I want to be able to use my tail cap. Should my tail cap fail, I want to know I have a pressure pad. I have pretty much gone to swapping over all of my tail caps at this point to the Unity gas cap, which is the gas cap with USB-C. Now, for those of you that don't know why you would do that over the Surefire plug, the Surefire plug, you lose voltage in between the pressure pad and the battery, so you are actually not getting the full power out of your light. This runs on USB-C is what I have into here with this excellent little retention band here. This is the Unity Axon button. What I am getting out of that is I'm getting the maximum amount of output I can get out of my system itself. The USB-C drops very little voltage in between the two, and it has quickly become one of my favorites, and I have these going onto every rifle at this point. Now, there are some things, right, that we need to look at. There are a few lights that are just kind of head and shoulders above what we got going on right now. The Noxon lights, great if you're on a budget. They are by far the best light if you're on a budget. The new Streamlight rail mount 18650 powered HPX with 100,000 candela, that is phenomenal. I have one of those on my Griffin armament rifle right now that I've been running for a minute. That's great. Mod light stuff, either the PLHV2 or the OKW. I'll tell you, if it's a rifle doing OKW though, PLHV2 is just not as good for this condition. And all of the new Surefire dual fuel turbo stuff in 18650. Now we're talking about 95,000 candela. They're excellent, 780 lumens, I think. Phenomenal lights. Highly recommend those. But that's about it. The lowest candela of what I just mentioned to you is this at 69,000 candela, and it is phenomenal for using this, right? We push light out, we don't get as much of a suppressor shadow. It's good stuff. Now, your next part of this is you have to have a feeding device for this, right? Like, we need magazines. So the first thing we need to talk about is loadout. I did a video on different kinds of loadouts over here, but we'll just shorten it up and say we need 7, right? So we need 7 standard magazines for our loadout, and then I like to have 2 20-round magazines. Those 2 20-round magazines are typically loaded with a precision rifle ammo that has a 0 offset to what I'm normally running. I'll get to that in a second. The other option you could do is to have something that has a ballistically similar identical 0 and have a good barrier round in there, unless you have a bunch of barrier rounds for your stuff. Again, we can tailor this to do what we want. So what I'm going to say is you need to buy quality, right? You need to buy good stuff. Magpul is never going to be bad. OK Industries is never going to be bad. Duramag is never going to be freaking bad. The stainless steel mags from Ammo SC or Ammo Storage Components is never going to be bad. So I would say 7 of your full size, 2 of your 20 rounders to go in there, but we actually need to strive for a minimum of 14 full size. 4 of those, we won't double that, because again, we want magazines that we can dedicate to training, but also if things got really bad, we could load all those up and throw them in our backpack, and now we have our own resupply, because again, nobody's coming to help you in this situation. Just feel like I need to put that out. So outside of that, what is some other stuff that we need to do to this platform to get it where it needs to be? Very few things are going to have as good of an impact to what we do as doing a good trigger. Now, this is a good 2-stage trigger is not a $20 solution to any problem I've ever seen on the planet, but you are going to receive a cleaner, more consistent break, which is a big deal because it allows you to be more accurate. You're going to get faster resets, therefore faster split times, faster running firearm. You are also going to get less shooter-induced stupid because you moved while you were breaking that like 6.5-pound mil-spec single-stage trigger. Trust me, a trigger is absolutely worth it, man. Triggers go into every gun I have, not because they're a hair trigger, YouTube, not because they make me faster, but because they make me more consistent and safer, right? Triggers do that. So my favorites right now, no surprise, the Geissele SDC or Super Dynamic Combat, the Geissele SSE or Super Semi-Auto, the Geissele SSAE, the Super Semi-Auto Enhanced, which is a pound lighter, 3.5 pounds. The LaRue MBT2S, that is his 4.5 pound straight shoot trigger. That is a phenomenal trigger. They're like 80 bucks, man. They're freaking awesome. And right now I've been pretty impressed with this guy. So the trigger that is in this gun right now, this is the new 2-stage trigger from Sons of Liberty. This is in fact made by Schmid. But it's pretty clean, right at 4.5 pounds, very consistent. It is a little creepy. It's creepier than a Geisley, but it is pretty good overall. So moving away from trigger, right? Control, man. I talk about this in the handgun, right? Can you reach and manipulate all of the things that you may need to reach and manipulate in however you should need to manipulate and use them, right? Simple things like running an ambidextrous safety, running an ambidextrous charging handle like this ACH from Forward Control Designs is a big deal, right? You know, switching out or having a foregrip in a good position that indexes your hand so that you come down every time where you need to be to get to your pressure pad activation, right? That's a big deal. Having a stock that fits you, your length of pull. This one has a riser on this BCM, allowing me to get a better like heads up display, a better seat on this guy when I'm shooting. It is important that we make things like this fit us as good as we possibly can. So this is actually BCM's factory furniture on this M13 Raider. Their new pistol grip here. I'm trying this guy out. This is the mag pull ambidextrous safety. So I actually have a 50-degree ambi safety, which is pretty nice, very tactile, very positive, very smooth safety. Very impressed for how inexpensive that mag pull safety is. 100% impressed with that safety. Arasaka for my foregrip here, and then again the Unity Axon gas cap on a Mod Light Noxon, right? Now your next one, suppressors, man. Whisper pickles, quiet devices, whatever you want to call them, right? Rifles are loud. Like, they are legit loud, and with as easy as it is for you to get suppressors, no, I don't care how you feel about paying the tax stamp. Wait till January. I don't care. They should have taken them off the freaking thing, and we should just be able to buy them like we're buying a candy bar. But no, we screwed that up. Maybe not. You never know. We'll see how that ends up working out. But cans, man, there is absolutely no reason you shouldn't have a can at this point. At least one to put on your primary baby. Get a good suppressor. This is my Griffin Armament HRT 556. This is the first gen version of this guy. I adore this can. It is tough as hell. It is awesome. The dual lock system is amazing. It is by far one of my favorite cans. Right now, my current favorite is the HRT 556 G2, the tan one you've seen on that Griffin rifle. That thing is smoking awesome. Again, get a can. Just do that. Like, do some research, figure one out, reach out to me. I don't care. I will help you. Get a can. I have a whole entire video on like NFA freedom to your door, right? Somebody's going to yell and get mad about how it's not freedom until the NFA is gone. Look, I agree with you, but we don't live in that world right now. So after that, there are a couple of little things, right, that are unique, but I have found them to be ultimately really effective, right? A good bag. So this is actually a new bag. This is the Trekker bag from Coltac. I am a huge Coltac fan. Everybody knows this, right? Like I'm unabashedly a Coltac fan. I love their stuff. Handmade, South Dakota. It's excellent. When you get your stuff, it actually has the name of the person that sewed your stuff. So Cody, thank you. You sewed my Trekker bag. This is their new one. I can sit on this when I'm in the field. I can take my little strap here and compress this down and get a little tighter thing. I could also use this low key as a cuddle bag to support my rear arm if I'm shooting this guy off of a tripod. But a good bag is important. At least at the very minimum, a decent trap bag for the front and a good rear bag. I recommend the trap bag from Coltac or the Armageddon Gear medium bag. And for the rear bag, the Whoopee bag. 100% all the time, every day. That is my favorite freaking bag. Now, after your bag, again, like I said, these are little extra things that are important to me, right? They're part of my standard. One of those standards is a bipod. I am pretty picky about bipods. This is the Warn Skyline light bipod. So I have quick adjust for these right here. I have unscrewable feet. I could put spikes in there if I want to. Again, this is super fast. And what I end up having is I have a 45-degree position and then I have a full 90-degree position here. They're very easy, very quick. I can lock this guy out and control pan and tilt. And the best part for me is they are QD. And if you were wondering why I have such a love affair and fascination with these kinds of rifles with the quad rail right here, it's because I can literally like take these guys and like put my bipod on. Like it's super nice. That means I also don't have to run this on there all the time. I could leave this put into my backpack, because you should have a support bag that goes with these. You guys are not going to want to miss it. I am going to show you my sniper support bag. That is the Everlystock G3 Phantom bag. Oh my God, it's awesome. So again, little things that are important to me, right? Having a decent bipod, and don't be cheap on this, man. A Harris bipod is a great place to start. But having something like this, I like this more than I like my MDT. It's just easier for me to use, but that is important to me. Now, I will say, if I can add one additional accessory, right, that I have found to be infinitely more useful than I believed it would be, I have used it way more than I ever dreamed I would. I have used it in more positions, doing more things than I ever dreamed that I would. That is a tripod. And this is the part where somebody's going to be like, "Bog," and I'm going to be like, "You haven't done a lot of research." Fact. A good tripod is just like a super crazy versatile tool. It just is. If you add a good tripod into your toolbox, man, and complete that with like a ball head mount and some Arca Swiss, we can do some crazy stuff, man. Like, we can hook up our binos on there, our spotting scope on there. We can hook up a shooting bag on there. Or if you take something as simple as an Arca Swiss plate, which you see right here, that Arca Swiss plate actually interfaces with my ball head mount here for the Arca Swiss, right? So I can actually mount my rifle directly to this tripod. It's really cool stuff. I get the stability that I am laying in prone, shooting off a bipod, standing up and looking over things. It's amazing. Pan, tilt, everything is there. I got a ball head mount. It's super smooth, very flexible, very stable. You can also use a tripod as an excellent rear stabilization if you've got your rifle resting on something like, say, the hood of a car or on a gate or something. Tripods are way more useful than you think. They're an essential piece of gear and kit, especially those of us that are in the precision rifle game. They are very important, especially those of us that are in the operational side of the house with the precision rifle game. Tripods are a must. This guy is the NRL RT90C. So this is a 10-layer carbon fiber, extremely tall, very fast tripod system. And on here I have the Coltac tripod Sling. It's great. It's actually a quick adjust sling. It just velcros onto here. It's amazing. Another accessory that I would tell you to get this is my friends at Coltac have the Bird Box. I would tell you they're an affiliate of mine, but they're not anymore. They don't do the affiliate program, but I still believe in their gear. So the Bird Box, also really cool. You can also do their Backbone, which is an Arca Swiss plate that mounts to one of their flat bags, and you can mount the bag to the tripod. I do that all the time, especially zero in handguns, bagging up a handgun. That's actually what I use to do all that work. That is the NRL RT90. I'm using the ball head on this guy is the NRL N52. Excellent system. Now, these are not cheap. This is not something you're going to go pick up for $149. I'm going to be very honest about that. This is like a $390 tripod, which is actually relatively inexpensive in the tripod world. If you did not know that, go look at Two Vets, man. You're going to be like, holy shit. And a good ball head's going to set you back about $100. So there you go. You're looking $500, $600, $700 to get into the tripod game. But man, it's worth it once you get in there. So now that we've talked about that, it's time to talk about that next part, and that is ammo. What is our standard for ammo, right? I do not recommend that your standard for what you carry for the ooh crap it's going bad game to be Full Metal Jacket, right? I don't do that. Full Metal Jacket is to make sure that you don't miss when you shoot your nice ammo. I mean, if you got all the way to the end and you were screwed and all you had left was your Full Metal Jacket, I hope you bought 55 grain because M855 sucks. Somebody needs to tell you that. It's a terrible round that was designed to be fired from a 20-inch barrel saw. It was never supposed to be fired from a freaking M4. It was never supposed to be fired from a 16-inch barrel. It's terrible freaking ammo. But it was this. There is a reason they went to a different freaking round. It's a bad round. It sucks. It's inaccurate. It's just, I hate 855. It's just a terrible freaking round. All right, so I would say if we look at our standardized loadout, 210 rounds in our normal mags, and then 40 rounds additionally of our precision rounds or our barrier rounds, you make your own choice there. I would say a standardized loadout, 210 rounds. I want to have at least 500 rounds of my designated defensive ammunition, whether that is 55 grain soft point, whether that is 53 grain CX, whether that is 55 grain gold dot, 75 grain gold dot, I don't care. You need a really good, terminally effective round. Period. There are a bunch of videos on my channel about 5.56 ammo. There's about to be like 2 more. So you need a good defensive round. Again, Full Metal Jacket is not a good freaking defensive round. Stop. It's not. No. And then I'd say you need 160 rounds or 8 boxes of whatever that precision ammo is, right? For me, that is 85 grain Barnes match burners, loaded up to some pretty butt-naked speeds in shell shock or shell tech brass, right? Or you could do the Badlands ammunition, the 85 grain match burner. That's a pretty good load. Mark 262, so 77 grain OTM, that is an excellent load. 69 grain tip Match Kings, 69 grain Match Kings, also an excellent load. We are looking for something that pushes our capabilities a little further. And as far as barrier rounds go, if you're running gold dot as your normal stuff, you don't need a barrier round, right? If you're running a CX round, you don't need a barrier round. All of those are barrier rounds. If you're running a varmint round, you might need a barrier round because OTM and match rounds are not barrier rounds and neither are soft points. So, now, the one thing you need to keep in mind, I talk about precision ammo versus your normal ammo and having them both, right? Your precision ammo needs to be a known zero shift or as close to normal as it can be. What does that mean? So for example, oh, and then we need 1,500 rounds on hand of 55 grain Full Metal Jacket training ammo, so M193 ball. Now, in this case, what we would do, and this is actually what I have done with this platform right here. Again, this is the EXPS 3-2. This has 2 dots in the center, not 1, and I have a 3-power magnifier flip to center the G43. Now, what I have done on this guy is this firearm itself right now is zeroed for 53 grain Hornady Tap Patrol. So that is 53 grain copper expanding projectiles. That is what this is zero for at 36 yards. I do not need a barrier round because that is a barrier round. Now, what I know is with my 85 grain match burner loads, my top dot is a headshot hit no matter what at 175 yards. And I know that my middle dot takes me to 425 yards with the same headshot. Now, somebody's going to be like, how do you know that? What algorithm did you use to figure that out? I went and shot it to figure it out. Sometimes there is no thing that works except to just go do the work. So the biggest thing we have to think about with our rifle, even if you don't do the precision and you just do a barrier round, and we say, forget precision, I'm going to do a barrier round and like a good fighting round. Your zero has got to be solid. So that means if I were to zero mine at 36 yards, which is what I do, I am now going to step back at 72 yards, double the distance, and I'm going to confirm and look at my windage, right? I don't expect the bullet to hit exactly the same spot up and down, but I need the windage to be right. Then I'm going to take that back, and I'm going to go back again to 108 yards, so 1.5 times my zero. And I'm going to look at my windage again. If my windage is still good, I am gold. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my butt and I'm going to back all the way up into that 400 range. But on the way there, I'm going to shoot at 25, 36, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take 2 pieces of poster board, I'm going to put them up end to end, and I'm going to put a single aiming dot on the top poster board. And I'm going to shoot at 25 at that aiming dot. Then I'm going to shoot at 36, 50, 72, 108, 150, 253, 354, 425. And I'm going to go up between every one, and I'm going to circle and make a note of where my group is in relation to where that dot is on my stuff, and I'm going to be able to confirm exactly where my holds would be and what my round is doing between 25 yards and 425 for what my rifle's set up for. That is how you measure out your stuff. So guys, this has been Setting the Standard Rifle Edition. It's important, man. We got to take care of this stuff. If we don't take care of it, nobody said we get tomorrow. So start working on it today. Remember, do something today that ensures you can kick your ass tomorrow if they cloned you today. Take care of yourself. Take care of each other. Check out my friends over at Outlast Supply. Visit violentalgebra.com. Come see me there. Till next time, I'll see you later.